Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us on our Zoom. There's a lot of people that wanted to be here and couldn't be on the live one, so we're going to record tonight and we're going to put it up on YouTube. So if you have to jump off before we finish, that's no problem. You can catch the replay. It will be on YouTube, and then I'll share that to my personal Facebook page. Tonight, Ronnie and I are doing something we've never done before. This is a first. We've never shared our testimonies together. He shared his a few times, most recently on the 700 Club, which was really exciting. And he's also shared during one of the conferences that we did. I share my testimony a lot, but what I want to do tonight is we're going to kind of go back and forth. We're going to start with him, and he's going to share his testimony up until the time we met. And then I'm going to share my testimony up until the time we met. And then we're going to talk about how all of that affected our marriage, what that was like, and then how the Lord brought healing and restoration and what our lives look like now. Have no idea how long this is going to take because we've never done it before together. And I completely understand if you need to hop off and then come back and watch it on replay. That's cool. But if you have any questions, we'll answer those at the end. I just ask everybody to keep yourselves muted since we are recording, and you can type in questions into the comment section. So this is my husband, Ronald Henson. Call him Ronnie. And I'm Nicole Henson, and we're going to start off with him. So just why don't you share about like your childhood, your teenage years, the years before we met, all the way up until we met.
All right. Um, I had a pretty good childhood. My parents were good. Always provided for us. I was a happy child. Played outside a lot with my friends and did a lot of stuff, just outside, outdoorsy, just normal kid stuff. And then when around 8 years old, an older neighbor started hanging out with me, and I thought that was pretty cool, somebody older wanting to hang out with me.
About how old was he?
And he was 12, I was 8, and we started off playing pool and just hanging out and talking. And then it turned into a where he started talking about sex and stuff like that. And over, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks or so, I don't really remember, it's been years. But then he would put his hand on my leg and he started touching me and he was grooming me. Then that after
You don't need to give details.
maybe a week or so, then that just turned into full blown where he was molesting me. And he molested me multiple times a week till I was 12 years old. He was 16. In between that time, there was other neighbor boys that molested me as well. But they only did it one time, where his was for 4 years continuous, several times a week. Um, That really created in me a confusion with my identity. And up until that point, I've never been with a girl or anything like that in that way. So I was only getting attracted to other boys, not me, or not girls, just guys. And I met someone when I was 16 years old and at a job that I got. And me and him got to hanging out. We become pretty good friends, and then that turned into a 4 year relationship. And I never wanted to be like that, but I felt like I was just who I was. So I just embraced it and accepted it. Um, but later on, I just was really did not want to be like that, and I was depressed. So I joined the military, just thinking if I get away from everybody, everything, start fresh, just have a new lease on life, basically. And I would say maybe 2 years into my military service, while I was stationed in Germany, I was out in a bar drinking, a bunch of us, and somehow I got sidetracked, ended up in another bar by myself, and unfortunately found out real quick that the demons that were in me didn't stay where I grew up. They followed me because they was in me to Germany, and I ended up having a one night stand with a German local there man. And then I really felt down and more depressed on that. And maybe 9 months after that happened, we got deployed to Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and not too much the whole time I was over there. It didn't bother me none. But after my time in the service, when I come back, I really started struggling with PTSD for the things that I seen, the things that we did, the things that we witnessed. And I got very, very pretty much drunk almost every day. I relied on alcohol to self-medicate. And during that time, I got alcohol poisoning. Ended up ambulance taking me to the hospital. They pumped my stomach. So I said, well, I'm done. I'm not going to drink no more. That didn't last real long, but I tried. But I met my first wife because I made a commitment that, well, I'm not going to drink. So ended up going to the movies, and she was somebody that worked at the movies. I asked her out, and we went out. We got married like within 6 months. And, but I never was attracted to her sexually because I was still only attracted to guys, but I was trying to fight it. And I was using her to try to hide what I was feeling. We ended up having two children. We was married 9.5 years. Um, Tremendous amount of issues in our marriage. Not everything was on me. Part of it was her, but a lot of it was on me. I was drinking very heavy until I got saved in 1996. At that time, we were married 4 years before I quit drinking, and that was when once I got saved, God removed the whole addiction of alcohol away from me. Like I know, like I threw my beer away and I never drank again. But by 2001, our marriage was so strained that it was over. So I filed for divorce. We got divorced, and I really started drawing closer to God during that time. And I was studying my Bible. I was reading it every day, studying it, taking notes, doing Bible studies. I found a new church, and I really felt like I was starting to get attracted to women and not seeing men like I always did my whole life. And then I met Nicole, what, 6 months after I started going? I think I started going there in October.
I don't remember timelines.
I started going there in October, and we talked, but that was basically the end of it. And then 6 months later, I think it was the weekend after Easter, I asked her out, and
The rest is history. No, I'm
yep.
joking. So I have a couple questions. The first one is because I hear this a lot. As a abuse survivor, why did you not tell? Like what stopped you? And you don't have to go like into specific, like, but like what caused you to not tell?
Because he said that people would call me dirty. They would say that it was my fault that I did stuff. So
Mm.
he pretty much, I don't know what best word to say. So I'll just say he kind of brainwashed me into thinking that it was going to be my fault. And that's what everybody would do. They would blame me and accuse me.
And I think another part that was super confusing for you is the age you were at, your body was developing. And
Yes.
so, without getting into detail, like your body started responding to the abuse in ways you didn't want it to
Right. And I started to enjoy it
and hate it at the same
and hate it
time.
at the same time.
Mhm.
But because my body was reacting the way it was, I thought, oh, this is just how it is. This is who I am. So
Mhm.
I think that was what started opening doors
Yeah.
for homosexual demons to come in to me. And that was when I started just found no attraction to women. I mean, one of my best friends was a female, and we talked all the time, hung out all the time, and that's all we was just friends. And I was in a relationship with a guy for 4 years because at that time I was so demonically oppressed. I thought that that was how God made me. I thought that I was going to live like that, and that was affirmed years later.
So even like because your parents were in church and stuff, so even knowing like the Bible somewhat, you knew it was a sin, but even though you knew it was a sin, the enemy convinced you, and you didn't know it was the enemy at the time, you had no
Right, I
idea,
didn't.
but you were convinced that you were born that way.
Yeah, so my first marriage, I never cheated on her. But physically, I should say, but mentally, yes. I was always never thought about her. It was always thoughts about guys.
And so we will go ahead then, and I'll jump in and bring us up to when we met. Um, I don't know if everybody's heard my testimony or not. If you want to hear like the full in-depth long one, you can go to a Stronger Faith podcast. There's a very in-depth one on their podcast. But I was born into a family of domestic violence. My biological dad was violent from before I was even conceived. And when I was born, I learned to fear him because everything in his life had to revolve around him. And I had no idea up until I started as a family therapist and went to school. I wasn't very familiar with the word narcissistic, but he definitely would have fit those criteria, I'm sure, and several others. So that's what I was born into. Whenever I was around three or four, my mom divorced him, and she and her family lived in Indiana, and he had moved her to Florida with his mom and dad. And so when they got divorced, she moved back with me to Indiana, but then he had visitation. So I would go to Florida for the summers and every other Christmas. And when I was around 7, when I visited, he had a new woman. He always had a woman in his life. And he had met somebody new. And I knew that that year was very, very different because, excuse me, I had always feared him to the point of like, I don't know, being a nuisance to him or talking when the television was on or making noise when the television was on. But when I went when I was around 7, that year everything was just dark. I can remember their home being decorated in wizards and what are those balls?
Crystal balls.
Yeah, like crystal balls like that you look into for the future or whatever, and magicians and dragons the home itself was just dark, and the person that he was married to, she would read people's futures, and I looking back, she probably was doing astrological charts, I guess, because she would type them up and then she would sell them to people, and they were heavily involved in witchcraft. And I didn't even know what that was back then. I'd never been raised around those things, so I had no idea what any of that even meant. And it wasn't like there was social media back then and you seen and you understood those things. So in my mind, I had nowhere to put any of that, like what I was seeing. That also that summer, I know for sure that the sexual abuse started. It may have started prior to that, but I'm not, my memories are very scattered. They still are to this day. They're still very scattered. I always figure if the Lord wants to give them back, he will. And if he doesn't, I accept that whatever's in his will. But the sexual abuse started then, and more than the sexual abuse, because that was bad. But I think the worst thing that he did to me was telling me that he could read my mind. And he told me that if I even thought bad thoughts about him, he would kill me and or my mom. And I believed him because I was seeing him do rituals. I was seeing him do what looked like powerful things. So when he said that, I fully believed that, as a 7-year-old child, that he could read my mind. So I can remember being back in Indiana thinking, don't think bad thoughts, don't think bad thoughts, because I didn't want him to even get a hint that I was even thinking bad about him. So that really birthed in me a, a survival mode to just suppress everything, suppress every emotion, every thought. I was never alone in my mind. Like I can't remember a time when I was alone in my mind thinking, oh, I can just be free and think what I want. And I never felt carefree. I never felt happy. I never felt safe. Because if you could imagine feeling like somebody is watching you 24/7 and even monitoring your thoughts. Like there's no safe place to go. You can't hide under a bed. You can't hide in a closet because they see you everywhere. They hear you everywhere. When I was visiting him, I don't remember a lot of everything that happened. I have glimpses, I have flashes. I'm not going to share all that here. I don't want to trigger anybody. My goal is to always make our videos as trigger free as I can because I want people to be able to watch the content. And I get it. I get how hard it can be to listen to things sometimes. But there were rituals, there was witchcraft, there was Satanism, and there was sexual abuse. We'll just leave it there. And then when I was around 12 years old, he tried to commit suicide. He had moved back to Indiana, um, and his life was very different at that part. He wasn't into witchcraft that I know of anymore, but he was still very odd and narcissistic. He always had weird belief systems. He was very verbally abusive. Like life really revolved around him. But he had divorced that woman and come to find out later why he divorced her was he had a child with my stepsister at the time, who was 16 years old. And when her grandparents found out that he had had I don't even like to call it a relationship. I don't think an adult can have a relationship with a child. When he had this abusive contact with my stepsister and had a child with her, they threatened his life, and so he left. So he was back in Indiana when he tried to commit suicide. When that happened, I went on a tailspin because I'd always feared him, but when he tried to hurt himself, I had absolutely no doubt in my mind that he could kill me or my mom because he was his favorite person in the entire universe. And if he could hurt himself, like there was no doubt that he could kill me. And so my behavior became very erratic. I I don't even think depressed is the right word. That's the word I use. And I do think there's levels of depression.
You shut down.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I think I was already shut down because I was never allowed to have emotions. I was never allowed to feel what I want. I mean, it wasn't like I didn't express emotion because I did, but I never could be real with anybody. I never could show who I really was, what I was feeling, but it would seep out in different ways, like destroying my toys or lashing out at family or just looking erratic I mean I probably looked crazy all the time. I can't imagine what it looked like from the outside because on the inside I thought, oh, I'm hiding this well. But a child can't hide those things like you think you are, but you're really not. And so I went into therapy around that time, and I stayed in therapy for a few years off and on. And she really didn't help at all. She did not have any family sessions with my mom and stepdad to tell them what was going on, what they could do to help me. Um, I really I can't remember what we even talked about. I don't know what the sessions even look like. I just don't have clear memories of that. But I was in therapy, and I told her about the abuse, and she should have been a mandated report. She was a mandated reporter, and she should have reported it to the police, but she didn't. And I'm not sure why. I have no idea. But she did send a letter to him and said that I needed a break from him to heal from some things that happened. And when that happened, both sides of my family, it felt like that I had caused a massive explosion and that nobody got along anymore because I had said I needed a break from him, or she said I needed a break. I wouldn't have come up with that idea, but she did. And it just caused a lot of issues between the families. And then I felt responsible for that. And it's like nothing good came of telling is what I thought and what it felt like at the time. Like nothing happened court-wise, nothing happened to him, nothing happened that said I didn't have to go see him anymore. The only thing that in my eyes that looked like happened was it caused family turmoil. And so I only stayed away from him for a little while because he had always told me from the time that I was 7 that if I said anything bad about him, he would hurt me and he would hurt my mom. And so I believed him. And so to stay away from him was harder because I had more fear than if I was around him because I thought if I just pretend like he's a great dad, everything will be fine and he won't really hurt me. But when I was around him, I had such terror. I mean, there were times I can remember like my hands just physically shaking and feeling like I was going to pass out or hyperventilate, but I got a smile on my face, acting like I'm happy to see him. And I can remember there was times I would spend the night at my grandma's house. He lived with his parents. He never lived on his own. And I can remember laying in bed at night and holding a can of hairspray, thinking, if he walks in the bedroom, I'll spray his eyes and then maybe I can get out. So, like, that's how afraid I was of him. But I couldn't stay away from him because I thought that would be worse because I thought if I did, then he really would come hurt me and or my mom. When I got to be around 16, I was a mess. I was involved again, I don't even like using those words because how can a 14, 15, 16-year-old be involved with men in their upper 20s? Like to me, that's not even a thing. At the time, I thought it was really relationships. Looking back now, like there was no way an adult man should have ever looked my way, but they did. And when you put yourself out there, you're going to find men that are interested, and I did. And when I was around 16, I met my first husband and he was actually around my own age. I think he was just like a year or two older than me. And we got married. And in a way, it was good because I calmed down. I would put myself in very, very dangerous situations. I would be at places that I should have never been, around people I should have never been around with. And it's only by the grace of God that I never got killed because I was around drug activity. Uh, I mean, just a lot of things that I should have never been exposed to, let alone putting myself right in the middle of them. And just people that were not safe, people I didn't know, or people I barely knew, or out walking on the streets and taking rides from people, like just so many things that I look back now. But I had no regard for my body. I had no regard for my safety. I didn't want to die. I mean, there were times I wanted to die, but I just didn't have the capacity to care about my body or really care about my life. And I felt out of control. And so I did in the moment what helped me to feel better. And nothing ever lasted. Like nothing ever made me have relief. Nothing ever made me feel better. I didn't have goals. I didn't have hopes. I didn't have dreams. It was basically getting by each day and saying, okay, I made it through that day. So when I got married, I settled down. I wasn't out running around anymore, but the marriage was very violent. My ex-husband came in with his own baggage. And I know I pushed a lot of buttons because I used him for self-harming behavior. And I'm not excusing him. I would never, ever excuse domestic violence. There is no reason he should have ever put his hands on me whatsoever. But I know that there were times that I pushed. And again, I'm not negating that he should have had self-control and that he should have never hit me. It was just a very toxic environment. And the explosion phase would lead to the honeymoon phase. If you know anything about domestic violence, it builds and builds and builds. There's an explosion. And then after the explosion, there's a honeymoon phase. And I was always seeking that honeymoon phase. And I didn't know it at the time. Like this is after years of being able to look back, like what was that? And it was like I paid the price for the explosion, but then I could feel loved again. And then it builds and builds and builds, and then you have the explosion, but then you can feel loved again. And so the building phase can last however long it lasts. It just depends on the other person, how long it takes them to explode. But it's like always seeking that place of okay, we get through the explosion and then we can have that. And I also felt like I deserved what the way that he treated me. He told me I deserved it and I believed him. And he told me that nobody would ever love me and that nobody would ever be able to stand to be around me. And I completely believed him because I had zero self-worth by that time in my life. I stayed with him for about 6 years. In that time, I got saved, gave my heart to the Lord, praise God, and I had my son. I would like to say that I got saved at 18, and I would like to say that everything just completely changed when I got saved, but it didn't. A lot of things did change. Like, I know that I was saved. I know that the Lord was changing me. I heard the Lord's voice. I felt the conviction of the Holy Spirit, but I still had this massive, massive trauma, and I didn't know how to heal. I didn't know how to I didn't know how to heal. That's the best way I can say it. And I had depression, I had PTSD, severe PTSD because I had the childhood trauma plus the trauma from my first marriage, all of that unhealed, and it was just compounding and compounding. And so I was a mess. I also had really weird things happen to me from the time I was young. I can remember seeing shadows. I can remember hearing voices. Things would move in my room. I would hear scratching on the wall. I would sometimes get like bit in my sleep. I would get my hair pulled. I would wake up with bruises. Lights would go off and on. And it wasn't like I was the only one experiencing it. Like my parents, they would hear things whenever I was in the home. I always just thought that prior to salvation, I thought, wow, wherever I go is haunted. Like, why are all these houses haunted? Like, this is just really weird. And I thought it was ghost because I had experiences at many different places. It wasn't like it was just my house and I could be like, oh, well, where I live is haunted. It was like, I would go to different homes of people and I would experience things. I mean, I would see full on like I remember one time I was at a house and I seen a woman and like I could almost if I could draw I don't draw well, but if I could draw you a picture of her, which I would not do. But I'm just saying like that's how solid she looked, and she had on a like 1800s wedding dress and she was walking across the room and I seen her. One time I seen a man that looked like an Abraham Lincoln outfit with a top hat, and he walked across the end of my bed at the end of my bed and walked out the window. And sometimes it wasn't full on like that. It would be like people or sorry, not people, but shadows. And so I had all of those experiences. Well, once I got saved, I knew that they were demons, but I didn't know what to do with that. I was never taught, like, oh, you have authority through Jesus Christ. This is how you handle spiritual warfare. So I just lived with it. I just got to the point where I'm like, it's demons. They are harassing me, and I don't know what to do with it. Like my family and I, we thought that because I had been exposed to the occult at such a young age, it was like I was just a magnet for them. But like, what do you do with that? I still was very, very depressed, very anxious, um, suicidal. I had suicidal ideation all the time. Voices in my head would tell me to kill myself. I had to fight that constantly. But from the time I had my son, the Lord would always tell me, if you take your life, what will happen to your child? And so I know that he was a gift from God to anchor me to life, because if it wasn't for him, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what would have happened. So I got divorced after about 6 years of marriage. And I came out of that marriage saying, no one will ever walk on me ever again. I went into that marriage being a doormat, never standing up for myself. I couldn't even call and order a pizza hardly. Like, I mean, I was so shy and backward. Like, I could barely even call and order a pizza or make an appointment. I came out of that with an aggression and an assertiveness that said nobody's ever going to walk on me again. And I completely flipped a switch and I got way out of balance the other direction. But I also came out still very broken, more broken because I'd went through more trauma. And a few months, well, not even, well, probably a few months after getting divorced, Ronnie and I met. And
You got divorced in December. We met in April.
yeah, so a few months later we met. And even though I wanted to be a strong, independent woman, I was very codependent. So I came out of that marriage knowing that I wanted to get remarried. Like there was never a part of me that was like, I'm going to be alone. I'm not going to be married. Like I came out knowing that I wanted to get married. Um, so now you pick it up where we met.
Okay. We met at church. I asked her out. We went out. And the funny thing is,
No, don't tell her.
she
Don't tell her.
she was interested in somebody else,
I knew you was going to say
so she set her best friend up with this guy so we could go out on a double date just so she could try to get closer to him and
no,
she could introduce her friend to me. Maybe we would like each other.
that's not how it worked.
Yes. But then she found out, ooh, I hope he doesn't start asking her out because she liked me then for some reason.
No, no, he's got the story wrong, so I'm going to help him out. When we first met, I thought of you for Missy, and I we came over to your house for dinner, and we spent several hours at your
Mhm.
house. Once we was there for several hours, I was like, "No, I think I like him." Then I fixed her up with the
Okay,
other
you're right.
person.
I
Yeah.
remember now.
Okay. Say that again. I'm what?
Mm. It's rare, but you're right.
Okay, go ahead.
So anyway, we started dating, and in April we was married in September, so 5 months.
Mm,
And after 6 months, 7 months, them demons started coming back and saying, "Why'd you get remarried? You know you're gay and you're living a lie." So I started getting attacked just every day in my thoughts. So then I started getting unattracted to women again, and where in my thoughts and my fantasies it was just thoughts about men again. That went on until deliverance in 2020. But prior, what would you say, 8 months before that, I spoke with someone, and this person said, "Well, you're always going to
mm.
struggle with them thoughts. I'm just going to give you prayers, and you're just pray through it because that's who you are. You're just going to have to live with that, but you can be strong through your prayers."
Keep your legs still.
So then that more or less validated in my mind, oh, I was born this way, so I am normal. But I couldn't live it because it's a sin. So I come home and through all that, I was told to tell Nicole everything. So I told her everything. And pretty much I think she heard some of it, but pretty much I think what hurt her the most was I'm with you, but I don't want you. I'm not attracted to you. And so 2020 around July, maybe 5 weeks after you.
Don't go that far yet.
Okay. So,
We'll pick up. We'll
okay.
pick up. No.
But during all that time and from pretty much, I mean, I always struggled with depression and I think it got worse after my PTSD and everything from Iraq
Mm.
and just feeling like I was living a lie for years and years and years, but feeling like, well, there's nothing I can do about it. I just got to be strong and not. And so in my mind, well, I'm not doing nothing wrong because it's just in my mind. I'm not doing it physically, but really, when you read the Bible, it says if you've thought it, you've done it. So I was committing adultery through our whole marriage besides the first 6 to 8 months. But it was in my mind, and I was so convinced that I wasn't doing nothing wrong because I wasn't being physical. And through all that, I think it started when I was 8 years old. I learned how to shut down. So, and I'm still working on that. Like Nicole tells me all the time, and everybody tells me, I don't smile. I don't
Mm.
show expressions. I don't show emotions. I don't like to be touched. I don't hug. I'm not a touchy-feely person. Um, so I've been working on that. So now I smile sometimes.
Sometimes.
But like, I don't know, I've had very close people close in my life pass away. And I think I'd be the only one, like, I was emotionless. I was just there, just show respects. But it's like, as soon as I left the funeral home, I was out doing, okay, what are we going to do for dinner? Like, it just, I, I forgot how to process things. So, because I just shut down. And I'm still working on that now. That's a work in progress.
I was trying to think about where I wanted to go back to. So when we very first started dating, you had told me early on that you had been abused and
Yeah.
that you had struggled with same-sex attraction as a teenager. And because I was a mental health therapist after, well, not when we first started dating. I went to college
Mhm.
afterwards, and I became a therapist, which that would have been in like 2024, but in or 2004. But because I had been abused myself, I knew a lot about abuse and reaction. So it wasn't surprising to me that you had went through that.
And you become protective.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, I identified with anybody who had been abused. So I had a lot of empathy for that. And I understood why you had that. But the part that you didn't tell me was that you still struggled with it. So I thought from the time that we met that you didn't struggle anymore, that that was just something. And I was under the impression that you had attraction to men and women, but that it was from the abuse. Like I didn't know the extent of it. Like you never ever shared that part with me. In our entire marriage, I always through discernment felt like you were having affairs. Always. And I'm like, I know you are cheating. I know you're cheating. And there was a lot of gaslighting, like, no,
And
because
I
you
told her
thought,
I wasn't because in my mind I wasn't
yeah.
cheating because I wasn't physical with anyone.
But we had a very, very difficult marriage. So we'll switch. I've told you where I was when we met, all the baggage that I brought in. So, do you want to talk a little bit about, because you remember those years way better than I do. I
Hmm.
just don't remember those years very well, like what it was like living with me.
Well, I can remember it was short after we got married, before I even knew anything really about deliverance and stuff like that. I never fully grasped and believed in mental illness. I always thought it was demons, and I could see it like in her eyes. She would change. Like I'm talking, cutting up, laughing 1 second to giving me a stare that was she's ready to stick a knife in my heart. And I can remember even then praying over her and like it subsided. And I can remember I never, like I was very demonized and I know that now, but I never witnessed anything physically until I got with her. I can remember she had these little porcelain demon dolls,
They were not demon dolls. They were pretty little dolls.
but she had one on each side of our TV. I couldn't even watch the TV because they was staring at me.
Well, let's backtrack. You had a spirit of fear, so you were
Yeah, I was very
you were full of
scared of
fear.
everything. I was fear. So I turned them around and I'm watching TV and it was all good. I got up to get me a cup of coffee. I come in, sit down, unmuted the TV, looked up, they was turning around staring at me. That was it. I left until she come home from school. Another time I can remember I went to the bathroom. My dogs followed me everywhere. I mean, they wouldn't leave me alone, but they laid down in the hallway. Well, it was a Jack and Jill bathroom. So they laid on each side. One was in one bedroom, one was in the other bedroom. They laid down. They was just staring at me while I'm in the bathroom. And I thought that was weird because they would always come in there and lay down at my feet. And all of a sudden that curtain flew open. And this is in the middle of the house with no windows, no nothing.
Did you say feet don't fail me now?
You got that right. And I was out there. And then another, shortly before we moved to Arizona, I remember I got up because I worked day shift.
Mhm.
I let my dogs out. I shut the door. I went and I made my lunch and everything for work, got my coffee, walked back in to let them in the house. And they didn't come in the kitchen where I was at, but they was sitting in the dining room, sitting and just staring at me. So I went in and I woke her. Did you let the dogs in? She goes, nope. I was like, okay, I'm going to work. And I left.
You left me there by
I
myself.
figured she had the dogs.
But I can remember times of him saying, like, how do you live like this? Like, how do you deal with this? And me just feeling like, well, what am I supposed to do with it? I don't know what to do. This is just life. Like, this is just how
Mm.
it is. And there was no cure that I knew of. And I would pray, and I really didn't even know how to pray. Like, I didn't know, Lord, please make the demons leave me alone, or Lord, please make them go. I didn't understand that I had demons in me. I didn't understand that they were attracted to me. I thought that in our home, that maybe they were attracted to the home or something in the home or something around. Like, we just didn't have a good grasp of anything spiritual warfare related.
I mean, I think they got so relaxed that I was starting to see them in shadow
Mm.
form. Like I couldn't say, oh, that's a guy. Oh, that's a girl. It was always in shadow form, but I could see them. And it was like they'd walk right. I mean, not even like in my peripheral vision. Sometimes it'd just be right in front of me. I'd see things.
Like, our home was active all the time. Like, I
Yeah.
like every day there was something, whether it was voices or something that we saw, like something every day. And we just lived with it.
It was to the point that even in the daytime, I had all the lights on in the house if I was there by myself.
Yeah. So emotionally, I was severely, severely depressed. I heard voices telling me to kill myself 24/7.
And me. Mm.
Well, yeah, I had voices telling me to kill you. I would see a video go through my head of me stabbing him, and I would have to, or like smothering him with a pillow or stabbing him, running him over with a car. Like, I would see different, and it would be like a movie playing through my head. I didn't want to do that. Like, I mean, my goodness, that's awful to even think about. And it's awful to even bring voice to, but that was my life. And I would hear voices, just kill him. He's awful. He's abusive. He's not good for you. He's not good to you. You should just kill him, stab him, choke him. And it was like this relentless voices in my head. My mind was never silent. They would tell me my family hated me. Nobody loved me. God didn't love me. If he loved me, he would have healed me. He wouldn't have let those things happen to me. His word isn't true. He isn't true. He isn't faithful. The Bible isn't real. My son is abusive. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. Life will never get better. If people really knew you, they wouldn't love you. Nobody loves you. Everybody's looking at you. If I walked into a room, oh my goodness. Like, I think because I was trained at such an early age to just put a smile on my face and pretend like everything was great. Like, when I would walk into a room, I would hear voices saying, everybody's looking at you. They're talking about you. They don't like you. They're making fun of you. They think you're crazy. They think you're fat. They think you're ugly. I can remember one time one of my aunts messaged me before I was going to visit them and said, "Oh, I can't wait to see you." And the voices literally said to me, she's just saying that because she's nice. She doesn't really want to see you. There's nothing about you that she would want to see, but she's doing that because she's nice. And that was my life. Like, I believed those things because if you hear those voices and you don't check them and you go through life hearing all of that and it's unchecked, it becomes your own voice. It becomes your truth because you're hearing it and then you start believing it and then you start speaking it that's what I did.
But she was able to put that mask on and
Oh yeah.
be with people, talk to people, have a good time where we would go to things, even my own family. And I would sit in the back corner and let everybody else congregate, and I just sit to myself. I don't like crowds, and I've never liked crowds ever since I was a child, and even more so after I got out of Iraq. And I never had self-confidence, or what can you say?
Yeah, but I think your thing is you can do small talk.
Mm.
You can do small talk with
Oh, I could talk
anybody.
one-on-one to
Hmm.
all day to somebody, but if there's two or three, I just get silent.
Hmm.
I don't like groups of people. I mean, for years. I started getting to where, and it was been a while now that I could sit in the restaurants, but
Mhm.
I used to always have to try to find somewhere where my back was to the wall so I could see what was going on around me. And I always, when we go out to eat, always hoped, I hope they put us in that back corner where there's nobody because I didn't want to be around people. It wasn't that I didn't like people, but I felt like I didn't like people. I didn't like chaos, is what it was, noise. It was distracting. Even now, I think when we go out to dinner, I don't talk a whole lot because I hear all the other voices from other people talking in the restaurant, and I don't know, I get scatterbrained, distracted.
Because you're nosy, you want to hear what they're saying.
No, I just like
I'm
it all
giggling.
runs together. So then it's like I just sit silent and let everybody else talk.
Is there anything else you want to talk about, like
Mm-mm.
before we went through deliverance? Like what life was like? Talk about our marriage, like what it was like as we related to
Mm.
each other.
We were roommates.
Mm.
I was always there for her, took her to the doctors. I was always there financially. I was there in the physical, but never emotionally because I was emotionally dead. I didn't know how, like when she was feeling sad or feeling down or something was going on. I've never felt them emotions, so I didn't know how to help. So I just shut down, changed the subject or whatever. And then it got to, like I said, we was more roommates than husband and wife for years. We coexisted.
I mean, our most of our whole marriage.
We made it look good in front of
Mm.
people, but I mean, it was at one time, Nicole flat out told me, I don't care what you do. You're just not going to bring nobody home in the house. And we're not going to get divorced because I need your insurance, basically.
Yeah, I don't remember saying that, but yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not
no.
saying I didn't. I said a lot of things. There was a lot of things that I just don't remember
That was
because,
in Arizona.
yeah. And I didn't care. Like I didn't care about him. I didn't care what he did. I didn't care where he went. I hated him by that point, and I just knew that I needed him to survive. And it was just a very, very dark place. I was miserable. I wasn't happy, and I couldn't feel joy. I
We was
didn't,
both like that.
yeah, like we were never, ever happy. And the depression that I carried was so incredibly severe, and the voices in my head were relentless. And it just never stopped. It would be like having like headphones on 24/7. After we got married, I went back to school to become a mental health therapist and I started practicing. And I practiced for about a year. And I would go give therapy to families and kids all day long. And then I would come home and cut. And I have scars all over my body from cutting because that was the only relief that I could get after hearing of children's trauma all day long. And in order to be with my family, that's what I did. That was one of the things that I did. And I went into mental health therapy for myself, and it didn't take long for that therapist to show me that it was unethical for me to continue practicing. And so I resigned with the idea that I would get back into therapy after I healed. And she's the one who diagnosed me with dissociative identity disorder. When she diagnosed me with that, I full on believed that I had alters in me because the idea behind DID is that, especially as a young child, if you go through severe trauma, your personality can split and you can have different parts of your personality living in your body, but like as different significantly different parts or alters, or and they have their own identity. Well, I had many, many, many what I thought were alters, and they had different personalities. They had different likes. They were drawn to different things, and they brought different trauma and just feelings to my life. And I had all of that. So by the time 2020 hit, I had given them so much access to my life because I had been told by a Christian therapist that they were part of me and that I should let them express themselves. So I did. I let them write. I let them draw through me. I let them speak through me. I coddled them. I verbally said that they were part of me.
And she'd
I
get mad at me because prior to deliverance, before we even knew, I asked her once. It's like, well, I don't really believe that stuff. And she got mad because she was a mental health counselor. I asked her, you think him are demons? Oh boy, that was something I should have never said.
I have no memory of that whatsoever.
Hmm. You went, I don't know, you went off.
I mean,
You,
I
not
was
you, the
violent.
demon.
I was very violent. I was very verbally abusive. I was very aggressive. I broke things. I threw things. I hit things. I never hit him, but I would break things. I don't think I ever hit you, did I?
Mm-mm.
I didn't think I ever did that. But I was very verbally abusive, very verbally abusive. So I had given them so much rain in my life that I was hearing them all the time and I believed them. I had one that presented as a protector. And so when it told me that he was out to get me, I would be like, you're right. He does hurt my feelings and he does do this and he is bad because I was just hearing it all the time. And this one presented as my protector and that it loved me and that nobody else loved me the way that it did.
Then you had that one that was, who was an aggressive one. And she would start trying to start arguments and trying to fight, yelling, screaming, calling me names. And I would just be like, okay. And she'd get madder, but I wouldn't get mad and start screaming back. I just, because I don't scream. I'm like, okay. And I wasn't trying to make her madder, but the more I said it, the madder she'd get until she'd get to the point to where I guess something inside her knew she was going to do something, so she'd go and lock herself in the bedroom. You remember those days?
Mm-mm.
Mm. You don't remember getting madder and madder because I just say, okay.
No, I don't remember going and locking myself in a room or anything.
Hmm.
No, no, I don't remember. So that would bring us up to about 2019. So that's where we were. And we both were a mess in our own way. We both, our marriage was a mess. My health was a mess. My mental health was a mess. He was a mess. And my son reached out to me and he sent me a sermon and he said, I think you should listen to this. And so I said, okay. And I listened to this message. And just a couple of minutes in, the minister was talking about deliverance ministry, how that even as Christians, we can open doors to demons and have the need for them to be cast out, just like Jesus did, and just like the disciples did, and just like Jesus told the disciples to do. And it was like a light switch went on. And for the first time in my life, my whole life made sense to me. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is part of my problem. And I reached out to that minister and I was like, I don't know anything about this. Do you have any resources? Is there anything that you can offer? And he told me to get a few books, and I got the books and I set them on the shelf and I lost about a year. I don't really know exactly what all happened in that year, except for one of the things that happened is I developed this really weird condition where if I tried to talk, I would cough and I would start wheezing. And if I was around smells or just trying to talk, sometimes just trying to have a conversation, like I couldn't talk on the phone anymore. I couldn't have conversations because out of nowhere I just would start coughing and wheezing. So I started going back and forth to the Mayo Clinic and they were trying to nail down a diagnosis. There were some tests I couldn't do because I just couldn't physically do them. And in the middle of that, the Lord spoke to me and said, set aside a week for prayer and fasting for your healing. And I said, okay, Lord, I can do that. I was finally to a place where I was ready to surrender anything and everything. And no matter what the Lord told me to do, I was ready to do it. Because, all throughout those years, there were the times that the Lord would lay something on my heart and he would tell me to do it. Sometimes I would, and sometimes I would be like, "Well, Lord, when you heal me, I'll be able to do that. Whenever I'm well, I'll be able to do that." And then I would just put it on the back burner. And it was always this thing of if I was healed, I could do this. And I always had a mistrust of God, and I never fully trusted that he was toward me who he was in the Bible. Like I had no doubt that he was who he says he was. or is. But I had this lie embedded in me that I was so bad and so just unworthy that he couldn't even love me, and that he wouldn't answer prayers for me, or that he wasn't hearing me. And the longer that I went and the sicker I got, the more the voices convinced me that that was the truth, because I had no answer. When they would say, "Why did God let you go through that?" Well, I don't know. Why didn't God protect you? You are a small child, and that's the God you serve? That's the God you love? Does he love you back? Because look at what you went through. Look at how your life is. Look at how miserable you are. And the sicker I got, hearing those voices relentlessly challenge God and his faithfulness, it created massive walls between me and him. And so when I listened to him say that, set aside a week for prayer and fasting, I was finally at the point where I'm like, if I don't do this and if I don't get breakthrough, I'm going to die. Like I knew, like, I mean, I really think I was going to die. My health was just,
It's getting worse and worse.
yeah. I mean, there were nights I went to bed and I didn't know if I was going to wake up the next morning. And I don't know if it was physically worse, mentally worse. It all blended in together. I mean, there was some weeks I would go a whole week and not even bathe or brush my teeth and barely make it to the couch. And I was sick and I was depressed, and it was bad. It was bad.
But a praise report on that was, remember your dad said years before that happened, you're going to get your healing in the desert.
Hmm.
And you got your healing 7 months before we left.
Yeah. 7 months. And it wasn't when we first got there. We've been there for a while, but yeah. So I set aside the week for prayer and fasting. And then the Lord said, reach out to your mom and dad, and have my mom, and he's my stepdad, my dad, but he's not the one who abused me, and have them come over and pray for you in person. And they lived a couple hours away. And I was like, Lord, that's so far for them to drive. Because again, the voices were relentless. Your parents don't love you. They don't see you. They don't like you. They don't want to be around you. Like I had heard that for years and years and years. And so I felt unworthy with everybody. I felt unworthy with God, with being a parent, with being a child, being someone else's daughter, uh, being with God, like every area, I felt unworthy. And so I'm like, Lord, if that's you and you really want them to come, will you please tell them? And then my mom contacted me and she's like, I feel like the Lord is saying we need to come over. And I'm like, okay, yeah, yeah, I think so too. And so we set aside that time. I cannot remember if I sent them some written material or a video, just something quick about deliverance, like how you verbally cast out demons. It wasn't like something super extensive because I didn't really have anything super extensive. Going into it, I don't know exactly what they thought, but I was thinking, I might have a couple of demons and then some physical illness and some mental illness that we would have to deal with afterwards. But if we got rid of just a couple of things, wouldn't that be so much better? And so they came over, and whenever we started praying, well, let me go back up a little bit. Prior to them coming over for about a week or a week and a half, the Lord started taking me through deep, deep repentance. I'm talking like showing me things that I had done my entire life, how I had allowed the abuse to turn me into a just critical, nasty, ugly, bitter, hateful person. I was so manipulative and so full of pity. I could only see myself, I could only see the abuse. And I just had gotten to be a person that I didn't like. Like I did not like who I was. And I always wanted to change. I can remember every single year I would say, okay, this year I'm going to be a better mother. I'm going to be a better daughter. I'm going to be a better wife. I'm going to be a better Christian. I'm going to do this. And by January 2nd, I was like back into the same patterns because I just never felt like I could change. And it happened over and over and over. And so I never liked who I was. I just didn't know how to change. So he started showing me I had taken the abuse and said, well, it's part of me. And it has created an identity that is just who I am, because you can't help but go through abuse and be physically, emotionally, and mentally changed. And he showed me that was a lie. That's a lie from the pits of hell. It's something that I walked through, but it's not part of who I am. It's something that I went through, but it didn't have to change who he created me to be. He also walked me through fully trusting him and how it's a choice. It's not an emotion, it's not a feeling. We choose every single day, no matter what we're facing, we're going to trust God or we're not going to trust him. And he also flipped the lens of, I had been viewing him through the lens of my abuse my entire life. I had been looking at him through the eyes of trauma, and he broke that through prayer and through revelation. And I was finally able to view him through the lens of the Word of God, through his Bible, through scriptures, and see him for who he really is. And so it was a week of deep repentance and cleaning out, like getting rid of anything connected to witchcraft at all. And I don't mean I ever practiced, we never practiced witchcraft, but we watched horror movies. We had movies with witchcraft in them. We had books with witchcraft in them, like as far as like fiction books, like Twilight,
Fantasy books,
fantasy books,
horror.
horror. We got rid of all of that stuff. Anything that had magic in it.
And I had a strong spirit of fear in me,
Mm,
but I watched horror movies all the time and then couldn't go to sleep.
they couldn't sleep all night. We'd be awake all night
I mean, I
because
had a fear of clowns and I watched it.
it makes no sense now looking
Mm-mm.
back, but we so like it was just cleaning out everything. Then my parents came, and it took about 4.5 hours, and my dad cast out between 45 and 60 demons. We know the number because my mom was writing them down, like their names. She was writing down their names or like their function. And I recognized so many of them as what I thought were altars. For years, I thought they were altars and part of me, and they're coming out. I feel their emotions and I feel that coming out and off of me. Some of them spoke through me, some of them said some really vile things. One of them just would not leave. And the Lord said you have to break identity with it. I don't remember the exact words he told me. I've told this story numerous times and I need to get my journal out to remember the exact words. But basically I said something to it is you're not part of me and I'm not part of you, and you have to go. Like in my mind, I was like saying that. I don't know if I said it out loud. I don't know what I said out loud. I don't know if I just said you got to go or you're not part of me. I don't remember details like that. I don't remember a lot of the details at all. But looking back, I think one of the hardest things for me is I became best friends with demons. Like I literally accepted them as part of me. And I accepted things that came into my life to kill, steal, and destroy me as my protector. The one that said it was there to protect me. I bought it hook, line, and sinker, and I allowed it to destroy the relationships around me.
You made it your best friend.
I did. I made it my best friend. And that's hard. That is a hard, hard thing. But all of those came out, and after they left, I had zero mental illness. Since May 24th of 2020, I've not had one symptom of mental illness. The PTSD is gone. I don't even have PTSD triggers. They don't even exist for me at all. I went into that having hundreds, and I'm not exaggerating. I had hundreds of triggers for PTSD. I'm like, do you think that's accurate?
Mhm.
Yeah. It ruled our life, basically. Um, no depression and no DID, no anxiety, no OCD, none of those things. It was just all gone. And so he had no idea exactly what was going on. He just knew that we were meeting to pray because we didn't talk about anything. Like I didn't tell, like the week leading up to it, I didn't even tell him like, oh, I'm doing all of this prayer, I'm doing all of this changing, all of this is happening. He worked 12-hour days and he worked an hour and a half away. So we didn't see each other. So he had no idea what all was going on. He knew that we were going to meet together for prayer with my, or that I was going to meet together for prayer with my family. So when you got home, pick up there with when you got home and then how you went through deliverance.
Now, when I got home, I still didn't notice anything because you was asleep. I got off at, I think that work. I worked 5 to 5 or six to six. I can't
Third
remember.
shift.
Yeah, but I worked night shift, so
Mhm.
I would leave at 3 o'clock, 3 p.m. to get to work by 5 p.m. because yeah, I worked 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. because I worked an hour and a half away, and then I got off at 5, but after shift change and all that, it would be 5:30 before I ever got out of there, and I wouldn't get home till 7. I'd get my shower and go to bed pretty much, wake up, see her for about 15, 20 minutes, repeat, go to work. But I started noticing a change on my first day off, or the second day off, maybe because I sleep my first day off. I started noticing she was nice. And I mean, there was just a huge, huge change. I've seen a big difference. And one of the things I want to say, I think that made your demons even stronger was I was a very passive person. So that allowed
Mm-hmm.
them to walk all over me, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. But anyway, I seen the changes in her life. And like I said, it wasn't immediate. 6 weeks later, maybe, I think it was the end of June, maybe first, second week in July. Then I went through deliverance.
The changes in me
Mm.
you seen was immediate, but you
Yeah,
going through deliverance wasn't immediate.
right.
But we had a conversation. Like that first day off,
Yeah, we
I told you
talked.
then what all happened.
Yeah, and I mean, and I seen the difference in your
Hmm.
life too.
I mean, it went from me calling you names every
Mm,
day. Like it was nothing
mm,
for me to call you stupid all the time. Like
right.
that was the most common name, to yelling and screaming at you, to nothing you ever did was right, to questioning everything you did, to saying your breathing got on my last nerve, to picking every television show, to saying you couldn't wear that. Why would you pick that outfit out to wear? That looks dumb. Why are you being dumb? You're so stupid. Like all of that. Like, and that's
Mm.
never,
That's not happened since.
no.
So that got me thinking about it. I was, well, maybe there's something into this. So I went to deliverance, and um, my mother and father-in-law come over, and we prayed, and I don't know how many demons left, but I do
Yeah.
know uh, the sexual demons left, the spirit of fear left,
Something
and
from Iraq left
and
too.
something from Iraq because it's like I don't have the PTSD and the triggers like I used to. So
Mhm.
whatever was attached to me from Iraq, and I'm sure there was several things that left at one time that I brought back from the Middle East. So, like I said, I don't got to count. If I had to guess, I'd say at least 7 or 8 because, like, the spirit of depression left, spirit of fear left, sexual demons left. What else would you say? Dang.
I don't remember.
I mean, but it was my three biggest right there was depression, fear, and sexual demons. And of all of them, I'd say that was the strong man. Mm.
Yeah, because I mean, I think that came in when you was a kid.
Yeah.
That and fear. I think they were intertwined.
And I had that spirit of fear so much that they kept asking me, feel like there's something else. Is that everything? I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's it. I said, well, I don't know. It just feels like something else because I still had that spirit of fear.
Which I knew at that time there was still a spirit of homosexuality, but I
Yeah.
didn't
And
want to call you
so,
out.
and then I said, spirit of homosexuality. And then I don't know if it was you or Patty said, that's it.
I don't remember.
Hmm. I can't remember either, but I remember one of you said, that's it. And then, so we prayed more, and then that left, and I've been free ever since.
So you talk about then the changes that you've seen in our marriage. And just personally, what changes? Well, no, let me back up. Let me back up.
Well, we get
What,
along.
well, what changes have you seen personally for yourself?
Even though I don't show it outwardly, I'm a lot happier. I'm still don't share or show emotion.
You do better than you used
Yeah,
to.
but I mean, I have joy in my life. I don't have fear like Nicole would go visit her family in Indiana, and I would sign up to work overtime and just work the whole 7 days, 14 days straight on night shift, so I didn't have to be home in a dark house by myself.
I didn't know that.
Because I could sleep in the daytime, the sunlight was out, it was bright. But I would sign up to work overtime. So the spirit of fear left me. Uh, I got joy. Um, the depression's not there, even though it does still try to come upon me.
Let's talk
I,
about that. What do you do when it tries to come?
I rebuke it.
What does
I
that mean
pray, command it to go, that
in the
that's
name of
not me.
Jesus?
And um, I got a confidence now. I can be a part of meetings at work instead of just sitting back and let everybody else. I can engage now in meetings and come up because I could come up with solutions before anybody else did, but I was never saying them because they was telling me, "Well, that's stupid. Don't say that."
The voices in your head.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I just wouldn't share, and then 20 minutes later, somebody else would come up with that. And so I just got self-confidence, joy, uh, no fear, and no sexual demons.
So
I
let's.
even had a spirit of masturbation on me that went away
Mhm.
because I was
Mm-mm.
extremely addicted to that, and that left too that same night. So that's probably about 6 or 7 now.
Like there was addiction there that
Yeah.
broke. So as far as the homosexuality, did the attraction leave?
Yes.
And does it ever try to come back?
Oh yeah. It tries to come back in my dreams, in my not so much in my thoughts now when I'm awake, but in my
Mm.
dreams. But pr I don't know, maybe for the first year afterwards, year and a half, like there might be somebody to walk through and the demon say, "See, look, I see why you're looking at him. He's handsome and you know it," or stuff like that. But now, like I would rebuke it, and now it's almost like they know they can't get me when I'm awake, so they don't try to do anything while I'm awake. It's more in my dreams now. And then
Is it a
when I
lot or only sometimes?
just sometimes,
Mm.
I mean, it could be a lot, but for some reason, I might remember one out of 100 dreams. And so when I do remember, if it was that, then I rebuke it right then.
Mm.
But I typically, like, they say you dream every night, and I might remember one dream every 3 months.
So what do you think would have happened if any of the times you heard those voices, if you'd stopped and was like, well, yeah, you're right. He is handsome. Yeah, you're right.
I think I'd open that door and they'd come right back in me.
I do too. I think you stay free by resisting the temptation.
Now I got the tools, I know how.
Yeah.
So before that, I didn't. So it would have been very easy for me to say, you know what? Yeah, he is pretty handsome.
Mm. So for me, the differences have been, like I already said, no depression, no anxiety, no fear, no worry. Of course, we walk through difficult seasons where like there's things that weigh on us and we have to pray through that and all that. And just like Ronnie, the depression has tried to come back. It came back. The Lord taught me very early on. So like the very first after I went through deliverance, my parents had to move away because COVID had hit. My dad lost his job. He got a really good opportunity in Tennessee. We didn't know exactly where we was going to be or what we were going to be doing. We were the only ones that were going to be left in Arizona trying to decide what we was going to do. And the demon said to me, well, when they leave, what if the depression comes back? And immediately I heard the Lord say, you didn't have depression. You had a demon, and that demon was cast out. So I learned like the very first few days, oh, everything that gets cast out tries to come back. And so I was always, and I still am always on guard for that. And there will be sometimes that I feel like a spirit of anxiety try to rest on me. That's the only way I know how to describe it. It used to be in me, and now it tries to come on me. And as soon as I feel it, like I may even feel it in my chest, or I may feel like, oh, and it's like, no, in the name of Jesus, I don't have anxiety. You got to go. And as soon as like I battle it, it releases and it goes. It's through the power of the Lord. It's not me. It has nothing to do with me. It is the power of the Lord. So please don't think that I'm saying that I battle the demon. No, it's the Lord in me and through me. But there are battles that come. So often I get a nightmare. I'm the same as Ronnie. I command it to go. There are times I do a lot of spiritual warfare. I teach a lot about spiritual warfare. So
There's
there,
fear that still tries to come on me when I'm awake because I might see something like a demon walking through and it present itself in a shadow, but I rebuke it
hmm
because I think the biggest thing is, and I don't know why. I mean, maybe it's God or maybe it's just because I always remember, I don't remember the Bible verse, but where it says that they went to and fro and then they returned to see their house was clean and no
hmm
one dwelling it. So they come back and they brought 7 others with them and the person was worse off than before.
hmm
And so I never want that. So well, I rebuke it right then. And
you
then for some
command it to
reason
go.
that always comes up on my mind like I could be worse off.
Yeah, and I mean we keep our house filled with the Holy Spirit. Like our
Mm.
bodies, our body has to stay full of the Holy Spirit. And we do that by keeping doors to demons closed. We don't watch the things we used to watch. We don't entertain the things we used to entertain. We walk in the identity of Christ, not in who the enemy says we were. And so our whole lives have changed drastically. Our marriage has changed drastically. We have peace, we have calm, we don't yell, we don't scream. I don't think we've not yelled once since 2020. I mean, we just that's not the way we relate anymore. I mean, of course we still have issues. We still have things we're overcoming and all of that, but I'm just saying like we're not aggressive and angry and hateful and screaming and yelling and throwing things and like our home is full of peace and calm and
Mhm.
joy. Like it's joyful, but there are still things that we work through. There's still healing. There's still spiritual warfare. Demons walk in and we command them to go back out in the name of
Mhm. I
Jesus.
notice it more when you're helping someone. I don't know if it's like the demons, but I noticed like we got to command things out a lot after you get done
Hmm.
a lot of times online helping people.
Yeah. I do prayer ministry. I do some deliverance sessions. I teach a lot about spiritual warfare and we clean our home out after I do
I still feel
the
like we
ministry.
have people ask for project in our homes early on when we.
We did, I think. I think we had witches that would astral project. We learned to bind that and command that to go in the name of Jesus. We've learned a lot. There's been lots and lots
Mhm.
of lessons along the way, but I wouldn't change anything as far as where we're at now. I would have went through this a whole lot sooner.
Oh yeah. If I knew then what I know now.
Yeah. And that's why we share a testimony because we want people to know that there is freedom. Like you can be free. You don't have to be in bondage to this stuff for the rest of your life. There is freedom through Jesus Christ. There is healing through Jesus Christ. There are demons and they are real and they want to kill, steal, and destroy us. But through the authority of Jesus Christ, we can command them to go and close the doors to them and they have to go. And it's just not talked about. Like we should normalize talking about these things. It shouldn't be weird. It shouldn't be out there. There are people that walk into our churches that are demonized, and our churches should be places where they get set free. But a lot of times they're not. I was in church since I was 18 years old, and nobody, like, I didn't get set free. I didn't get taught how to walk in freedom. I didn't learn how to stand against demonic warfare. We heard scriptures, but we had no idea how that pertained to our lives. Like Ronnie had no idea that he could be set free from homosexuality. He thought it was who he was, and he had believed that lie. We just as Christians need to know the truth and share the truth because we could have went the rest of our lives in the same place where we were, and how miserable would that be?
And I just hope other people can see our testimonies that if they struggle with the same thing and get set free, knowing there's hope.
Exactly. So if you guys have any did you have anything else you wanted to share before I open it up for questions?
Mm-mm.
Okay, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to type them in the comments. I'm not going to have anybody turn your mics on because of recording, but you could type them in the comments. We'll hang out for a little bit and answer any questions that you may have. I just seen something. Thank you. Thank you. Someone just typed they have to jump off, but they thanked us for sharing our testimonies. We'll give it just about a minute or so, and if there's any questions or anything like that, please feel free to comment them. Uh, I just think, I don't know, the normalizing it I think is really important.
Hmm.
And I think that there's a lot of information out there in the church for mental illness and homosexuality that's just not helpful. I mean, maybe some of it is.
Well, because so many churches now normalize, and society in itself isn't accepted and embraced.
Well, I think like that, you're right. That is true. But I think too, like when the advice you get in church, like if you struggle with homosexuality, it's like, well, crucify your flesh and just resist the temptation.
Hmm.
They're not taught that, oh, that's a demon inside you that can be cast out. And there's probably a wound there that needs to be healed that allowed it in and it can be cast out and then you can walk in freedom. Like when you treat it like a demon, that like, the demon that it is, it changes everything.
Yeah,
Because I think you would have just white knuckled it and been like, okay, I got to fight these thoughts. Because I mean, like you tried that. You tried all of those things. You didn't want to be the way that you felt like you were,
right.
and none of it worked. It's the same for depression. I
Mhm.
tried the medication, I tried prayer, I tried this, I tried that.
I
But
think the thing too was there was such a stigma against it and when we were kids
yeah,
to where it's hard telling if I was a kid now and I still had that lifestyle that I had back then where I would be today since it's so
since
embraced.
it's accepted. Someone asked if I have written a book for self-deliverance. I have. I will hurry up and pull it up right now. And it takes you through, oh my goodness, I can't type and be on here at the same time. Give me just a second. I'm going to put
There it is.
it's on Amazon and it's called Self-Deliverance Workbook, Practical Steps to Casting Out Demons and Walking in Freedom. And it's just under my name, Nicole Henson, but I will put it in the comments section right now. This will be the link. See if that comes up. Click on that and see if it takes you to it. It looks a little weird, but that should take you to it.
Why do you think?
Have you ever written a book for self-deliverance? Yes. So I answered that. Why do you think pastors don't teach about demons in church? Do you see that changing any? I think for a few reasons. One, I think they don't believe it in it themselves. I have pastors who legit call me a false teacher. I couldn't tell you the names I get called. I get called a Jezebel. I get called a false teacher. I get told that if I had demons, I was never a Christian because a Christian can't have demons. So there are pastors, it's multiple reasons. There are pastors who don't believe it's an issue. They don't believe that a Christian can have a demon because that's what they've been taught.
And there's so many that want to preach that feel good. Like if they start preaching hard lessons like that in their congregation starts, then I think they're scared that they're going to lose people.
I think that's part of it too. And I think so. You have the ones that don't believe that it can happen. You have ones who don't want to deal with it. Deliverance ministry is difficult. It's not easy. You are meeting people when they are in their most desperate
But
situations. And the thing with deliverance, if you do it right, what you do is you teach them how to close the doors to the demons. You cast the demons out, and then you teach them how to maintain their freedom. And that includes discipleship, mentorship, walking with them through the maintaining part. And if you're not willing to do that part of it, you're not doing a good job at it, in my opinion, because you're leaving people high and dry. It's not hard to get people set free. I mean, it's the name of Jesus, it's the authority of Jesus, but teaching people how to maintain their freedom, that's where it takes time and it takes getting in like those wounded areas with them and helping them heal and helping them be discipled and walking out their walk. So I think that there's some churches that don't want to do that. I think some of them are afraid. I think some, when you talk about demons, people get scared and they're like, that's too scary. That's too much. I don't know what to do with that. And they don't want to deal with that. I also think sometimes that demons are active in churches and it's mistaken for the Holy Spirit. There are demons that mimic the Holy Spirit. There's demonic tongues. There's demonic manifestations, and some people say, "Oh, well, that's the Holy Spirit," and they don't. The pastor themselves doesn't operate in discernment, so they're letting it go like a free-for-all circus with all kinds of spirits, and they don't know what's happening. And then you have your pastors who are demonized themselves. I think that happens a lot. I think they have demons and the demons in them are telling them all kinds of lies. And for all of the above, they don't want to deal with it. And then you have, like what Ronnie said, you have churches that only want to talk about feel good stuff. They never talk about sin. They never talk about anything real. So they're not touching the topic at all. Would you want to say something?
I've heard preachers also say that that time has passed.
Yeah.
We're in the Acts church now, so demons don't really walk among us. And I mean, that's like not even biblical because God even says this is, you know, devils. This is his world, his home, basically.
Well, the devil's the king of this world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of them are cessationist where they don't believe that there's any miracles at all now. There's no deliverance, there's no healings, that God doesn't operate that way anymore, that that was only for a very specific time during like when Acts, back then, those times. And so you have your cessationist that just don't believe it. Do I think it's getting better? That's a loaded question. I think that I think deliverance is getting more mainstream. which is good in a sense. Yes, it's good. We should be learning about these things. The church should be setting people free. There should be deliverance ministries. There should be discipleship. But the problem with that is everything that is of God, the enemy then defiles, right? So like everything that comes out, like I think every move of the Holy Spirit you have, the enemy is right there wanting to defile it and take it to a place that's out of balance. So you can have something that is so good, but then the enemy comes in to try to take it out of balance, to take it to places that it shouldn't be. So what I see happen in deliverance ministry is three different things. One, some really good things. People getting free, people learning, people teaching. Good, awesome, that's great. But then I also see ministries popping up that are operating in witchcraft, and they are just making it a free for all. And they are very theatrical. They are getting to, like, there's one right now that I can think of off the top of my head. Well, there's like five I can think of, but one that is growing in number, and she is getting huge. She has a massive, like massive world platform. And her covering, what she calls her spiritual covering, is actually someone who practices witchcraft. They have anointings that are just
It's
not.
getting real big in New Age, where they think stuff, even though it's
Ugh,
off.
that's not what I'm talking about though. This is like that that is happening too. But this person teaches heretical teachings, but then because it looks like she's doing deliverance ministry, she gets massive following. But if you listen to her teaching, it's heretical. And because it's becoming more mainstream and people are interested in it, they see those videos and then they get locked in and they say, well, she is casting out demons. And it's like, no, she's playing with demons. The demons in her are interacting with the demons in people, and it just becomes a whole thing. So that is across the board where it is just that's becoming a massive, massive issue that I'm seeing in a lot of very popular deliverance ministries because they gain a following by doing this stuff online. And then I think the other issue is, I don't even remember where I was going. Oh, what is changing and is it getting better? So yeah, I think in some ways it's getting better, but then you have people who are not, um,
When it starts getting better, then the devil starts coming
yeah,
in and saying, "Oh, I got to do something."
defiling it. So you have people who are practicing witchcraft and saying it's deliverance and it's not. Then you have groups who you can't like they teach the right things and they say the right things, but they use their videos to gain followers. And it's, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, you can't get informed consent from a person who's coming for deliverance to use a video and post it on social media. Because if people are coming to you and they're desperate, of course they're going to say, yeah, you can put my video online if that's the only way you're going to help me. And so you get people plastering this stuff all over social media, and it's it can be very predatory. Oh, I remember the other thing I was going to say. The other issue is you get people who are only casting out the demons, but they're not following up with people and they're not helping people maintain their freedom. So they may get a lot, like I can't tell you the number of people that have come to me and said, I went to this service or I met with this person and I felt free for like a week and it was great. My life was so much better. I felt this release and the depression was gone, the anxiety was gone. I didn't want to hurt myself and it was amazing. But then it came back and you know what? I got worse. And well, yeah, because they weren't taught how to maintain their freedom. Just like Ronnie said, when he first got free, he heard these voices saying these things. But because of what the Lord had walked us through, we knew you have to stand against that, just like
Mm.
me. Well, they're not being taught. They're not being taught to close those doors. They're not being taught. You have to refrain from everything connected to witchcraft. You have to get that stuff out of your home. Don't open up doors. Don't bring things into your house. And because they're not being taught, they're just going right back into bondage. And then they say, well, deliverance didn't work. Well, no, the deliverance worked. You got set free. But what happened was you weren't taught how to maintain your freedom, so you got rebound again. Like a popular movie was out not too long ago. I don't know, a few years ago. And at the end of it, they were leading people through mass deliverance. And on the surface, that can be like, great, people are getting free. That's awesome. And I'm not saying that I totally knock it, but I think what would have been a better thing to have in place is teams to do follow up. Because yes, people may have got free, and I'm not saying that they didn't, and that is a great thing. I would never knock anybody for getting freedom, but are they still free? Were they taught how to maintain their freedom? Because it's irresponsible, in my opinion, to do deliverance with someone if you're not going to follow up on maintaining their freedom. So that's one of my biggest issues with deliverance ministry is, yeah, you can tout these numbers. Yes, you can have these videos plastered all over the place, but are you helping people maintain their freedom? That's why I don't do much deliverance ministry anymore. When the Lord started leading me into teaching and training and doing those things, because I believe with everything in me, if I'm going to walk somebody through deliverance, I have to make myself available to walk them through maintaining freedom. And you can only do so many people that way because the numbers get bigger and bigger, and then you have a lot of people that need a lot of help. And what we should be doing, I think, is training more and more people to do it, and then you have more people who can help, and then you have smaller groups of people that you're discipling. But that's my opinion. That was a very long answer for one question. Does anybody else have any questions? I'll give it about a minute. And if, because there's a delay, but if nobody else has anything, we'll let everyone go. Are you stretching?
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else you wanted to share?
I'm good.
Can you tell who is the talker of the two of us? You would not know this if you met us in public. If you sat down, not public, but like if you sat down to dinner with us, he would talk the whole time and I would not get a word in edgewise. But when we're on a public platform, he's like, "You're good, you talk." One-on-one, he does a lot of the talking. Okay, well, I don't see any other questions coming through. If you guys ever have any, you can reach out to us on social media. We have a very exciting upcoming website launch that we are so incredibly excited about. You can go to fullnessofjoyministry.com and get signed up for the updates as it launches.
Mm-hmm.
What we're working on behind the scenes, we actually have a young guy who is building it for us. His name is Gabe, and he is absolutely amazing. You can go to my website or my Facebook page, and I've tagged him a lot of times. He does amazing work, but he's building it out. Right now, we have a landing page where you can go to that. You can click and hear my testimony, and you can sign up to get updates as it comes out. What I'm working on right now is like, I don't know, maybe 30 hours of course content that is going to be on the website for free. There's going to be, it's around 30 hours of videos and written material. And you will be able to go on our website and take the courses at your own time, walk through that as fast or as slow as you want to. It will always be up there, and it will be keys to walking in victory, surrender, identity, and authority. And I am so excited about that. But it's taking some time because I am having to do my part. He's doing his part, but I have to record the teaching and write all of the material. But it's going pretty well. I have the first section written. Now I just have to get everything recorded and finished up. But if you want to sign up to get those details, fullnessofjoyministry.com. We would love to see you there. There's also going to be a section for community where I can connect with everybody and you all can connect with each other and we can pray for each other. It's just going to be an amazing thing. Like, I can't wait. Anything else before we go?
Nope.
How'd I know that? All right, you guys. Love you all. Thank you for being here. We'll see you soon. Bye bye.